Welcome back to another video. Car is currently apart. Once again, we are doing some work on the differential, changing out the trans or the output shaft seal and some other stuff, getting new exhaust, etc., etc. Well, while that's going on, I figured it's going to be a minute before some parts show up, so I wanted to do a cost analysis video. So how much did it cost me to install the NSR cams myself? It's pretty much all I had to pay for was parts, and there's a lot of them. I do have a pretty decent collection of tools at this point. Primary ones you're going to need if you're doing this yourself: jack stands, obviously. You're going to need the crank saver stud if you don't have a better way to put on the pulley and take it off for the balancer. Drain buckets, that fun stuff, and a pretty decent socket set, torque wrenches, etc. So without further ado, I just added it up, and it was more than I thought it was going to be. I budgeted about $3,000 to $3,500 for this install. I found a few parts, not really many, for a little bit under budget, but by the end of it, I'm still over budget, even including that. So I don't know what the shop costs are, but this is me doing it myself and with what I think are the appropriate upgrades for how I'm driving the car. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Yeah, more than I thought it was. Worth it? I don't know. You got the chops, but power-wise, probably not. Probably just do a pulley upgrade and some race gas. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty guys, so I figured the best way to go ahead and do this is to make a spreadsheet. I'm gonna go ahead and show you my screen, and we'll be able to kind of show you guys basically a full breakdown of the cam install. So like I was saying, this is more than I intended to spend on this. I did not, my original estimate was about 3,000 even, 3,200. So that gives you an idea here where we're at. So there are also a couple things, I'm looking at my screen here. So the tuner I was able to get for 200 and retail is 4. I had to spend an extra 30 bucks to get the additional cable for the wideband. If you don't have a monoblade, you can knock off 100 bucks of your tune, at least from Venomous Tuning. I'm going to change that. That is not Venomous Performance. Venomous Tuning with BJ McCarty. Solid dude. Still have to finish going over the tune and everything. And the kinetic crank saver stud is somewhere down here that I added to the list because it's the best way to install your, it's the best way to reinstall the crank. It's also a really wise idea if you're going to be in there taking off the balancer and everything, which doesn't need to come off to install the stud, by the way. Might as well put it in there. So let's go ahead and break it down. We'll start from the beginning, work our way down the list. So obviously we did the L&M NSR GT500 camshafts. They run basically 1,600 bucks from L&M Race Engines right there. Source, manufacturer, basically where I bought it from. With that, you need their low vacuum bypass. That is basically, it lets the normal bypass on most blowers are spring actuated closed, or and because the cams either closed or open, I think spring actuated closed a little bit, and the vacuum sucks the spring, kind of helps to keep it happy. Cams lower the vacuum pressure vacuum that's inside the manifold, or i.e. supercharger, and they basically remove the spring, remove one of the vacuum lines, and low vacuum bypass is born. So you need your tuner, SET X4. So retail is about 400 bucks. I paid 200 for mine, got it used, unmarried, used dates, had to do some updates. The Venom's tuning, the actual tune, like I was saying, 900 bucks for me. Custom cams, blower swap, mono blade, all plays into a factor, and here we are at $900. The Levitt Ford timing chain kit. So this is the timing chain kit that you saw we used. Everything in that kit was good to go except for, it didn't come with gaskets. It did state it had gaskets, and it did not come with, so as I was saying with gaskets, I had to just pull it up real quick. So timing chain kit is right here, and you can see it still costs the same as it did. In big fat letters right down here, it goes front cover gaskets and front main seal. Those were indeed not in the kit. Could have contacted them about it, but I needed it now. These people took about, I think it was 2 months I placed my order for it to actually show up, so you can kind of see why I decided to go ahead and just get the other one. Let's see, billet crank sprocket. So this is from MMR. I say owned because I already bought it previously, but it retails for 200 bucks, so that was another 200 bucks didn't have to deal with. So I'm already in the green, $400. Green is a stretch when you see what we got down here, but lethal hazard, 200 bucks. VMP 2.8 pulley, talking to the tuner, we want to go from 3-inch to 2.8, and that'll bring up boost a little bit, and we should be good there. So on 93, that's where he's comfortable with cams. Let's see, we got our, so that's the big ticket items really. Then all the small stuff that I didn't anticipate, because no one ever really does. Valve cover gaskets, 40 bucks, Rock Auto. If you are not familiar, Rock Auto is this magical little site right here, and you just go to your vehicle. I'm going to do this real quick just because I want to show you an example of why I use Rock Auto. Now the downside is it does not have free shipping, but usually it's pretty reasonable. So 2007, Mustang, 5.4, this is where I get a lot of my parts. So for instance, fuel and air, we just did a fuel pump filter, or a fuel filter, and you get some outstanding prices. Motorcraft, 13 bucks, Wix is the one I got, 9 bucks. So you can see why I use that as opposed to, so I was saying we can copy over this exact part number, and you can see where you can get it a couple different places. So Summit, 17 bucks, and on Rock Auto, it is an outstanding 9. So small stuff like that will help save you in the budget in the long run, help keep costs down. So we needed valve cover gaskets right here, 23 bucks from Amazon for Felpro. Felpro and Mail, or Molly, Mail, I call them Mail, are both great gaskets. Never had any problems with them, good OEM stuff. Then we needed 4 12 millimeter cam bolts. These are for the earlier Mustangs and 4.6s. They're crank bolt. L&M uses the 12 millimeters, so what comes in the timing kit is not that. They are smaller, stock factory, smaller. So 27 bucks off Amazon for 4. Again, depending where you get it, they could be 27 bucks each, or you could spend, I think mine was like 6 or 7 bucks each. That time divided by 4. Permadex gasket maker for the front timing cover and valve covers, 6 bucks off Amazon, no biggie. Lucas assembly lube, 3 bucks off Rock Auto. Valvoline, $35 for 4 gallons is what I wound up using for the coolant. That includes the supercharger coolant system and the regular coolant system. We went ahead and did the kinetic crank saver stud. So again, I already had this, didn't have to spend money on that, but if you're doing it, much easier, highly, highly suggested. So I wanted to show you guys that as well. Crank saver stud, 120 bucks, but I can save your cranks. So this is why you do that right here. Kind of a poor visual, but you can see the factory goes right in. Not a great representation. Here is a better representation, this picture. So you can see how there's a giant void up in here, and you really want that to be filled. It helps keep the crank from flexing with your balancer that sits right there and having any problems. Highly suggested. So you can see that whole void is especially right around where your timing kit and timing gear are. You want some strength there. That's a weak point for sure. So next best thing other than a crank support, really. Next up, Motorcraft oil filter, 4 bucks off Rock Auto. 5W50 full synthetic Motorcraft, 6 bucks. We got our water pump gasket, 6 bucks. Vacuum T-line caps and the actual T, 5 bucks each. Motorcraft SP471s, which we have not put in the car yet. Those are for later in the tuning process. Once we get fueling dialed in, this is according to the tuner, I'm not making this up, so according to the tuner, once you get fuel dialed in, we change out fresh plugs and we dial in timing. And basically, because they don't have timing marks, or not timing marks, they don't have knock sensors in the 07 to 09 GT500s. I don't know if the 10 does or not, it might. You need to be very vigilant of your plugs. You do watt pull, and at any point you check your plugs after the watt pull. If there's any specs on them indicating detonation, like, hey, I got some detonation, and that unchecked will be very, very bad on your motor. It hammers everything. Bad. Don't do that. You don't want that at all. So we need 8 new plugs, and then the other 2 are to check periodically after the fact to make sure we're good to go. Supercharger belt, $24.79. We got accessory belt, $19.10. I feel like I missed something. There's a supercharger gasket somewhere. Yeah, supercharger hub spacer, 10 bucks. Supercharger gasket itself, which I totally missed, 60 bucks from AutoZone. But yeah, the grand total comes out to $4,249.62. So that's the price cost. Here's where kickers are if you're working on these cars. So something to keep in mind, horsepower pickup wise, really, no matter where you're at, you're probably going to see 40 to maybe 60 max, and I mean like if everything else is flowing perfect, horsepower pickup. that same horsepower on my system especially, or if you have a similar setup with the 2.3 TVS, you can easily pick that up with a pulley swap, 85. Looking at this price tag, you can get a 4-fuel system, tune, injectors, and be running the 85 with the pulley swap for about the same or a little less, and probably be well into the 800 horsepower range. I'm going to be limited based on the 93 octane choice, or unless I go to race gas, and I'm going to probably stick into the mid 700s is where I might kind of want to stay at. I don't want the car to go kaboom at 93, and even then that's pushing it a little bit. Usually 93 is a little finicky. So there you have it, guys. That is the cost analysis breakdown of the cams on the GT500. So here's a little sound clip at the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. So let me know in the comments down below, do you think it's worth it or not? And this is a install yourself. So I already have a lot of my own tools. If you are doing this yourself for the first time, we really wouldn't suggest making this your first go around. I would suggest making sure you have the assortment of tools you'll need, which basically a socket set, jack stands, basic stuff, and some torque wrenches. You'll probably be good to go. So, like I said, without further ado, guys, I will see you in the next video where we hopefully get the rear end of the car together, and enjoy the choppy cam outro. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.